I'm seeing 85 people there. Oh, people on standby. 176 people there already. Felicia, bring us back in now.
Good evening and welcome back to PEP Streams. Before we cut off on the first video, we were talking about, why did the government not put things in place in terms of preparation? And if anything, this incident should show people is the difference between stunts and gimmicks versus leadership. And there's a quote that Philip uses a lot all the time, and there are many variations of that quote. But when I think about the carnival incident in particular, because I realize a lot of Trinbagos were having problems with reconciling that. I don't know if that's the partial guilt of knowing that they would have partook in carnival. But in terms of making the tough decisions and the decision that needed to be made way back in January or early February, when countries like Singapore had already locked down their borders, and that quote is that leadership is people not necessarily made where they may want, but where they need to be. And that's what I like about the Progressive Empowerment Party in terms of decision making and the leadership team of this party. Because even before this was declared a crisis and an emergency by the and that's the idea of postponing our candidacy launch, and it wasn't the most favorable decision. It wasn't the most favorable response. I mean, money had already been spent on invitations, and I mean, this is on a small scale as compared to what Carnival would have been. But at that moment, the of the Progressive Empowerment Party made the decision to put the well-being of the citizens first. Even the candidates put our well-being first, and that is what is sorely lacking from this government. And I'm comparing the treatment. People say don't compare Singapore and Trinidad, but I have to compare the treatment because while we were preparing to unwind and put on beads and all of this, the Singapore government since early February were preparing for this, and they're reporting cases, not just imported cases, but cases within Singapore itself. You're not just hearing about the ones who have been quarantined, but you're hearing down to the exact number, the exact body, how many people associated or in the degree of separation to the people who have been quarantined, how many of them in turn have been isolated. And you're not hearing that information. You're hearing 42 people return from a cruise, and you're hearing this person travel from abroad, but you're not hearing about all the people along the way, the steps that they would have taken from the region. Who you're not hearing the people that they would have touched or hugged or pass the money to. And this is what you need to hear. And this term that we use a lot in the Progressive Empowerment Party, that success clues, because while we were burying our heads in the sand, countries like Singapore had already gotten or started to get a handle on it. So if we not realize now, and if you're sharing some of that guilt, and I speaking to some of my friends here directly, mass. There were even people in PEP who played mass. I went to a few parties, and at that point, yes, I took in it, and yes, this, but I still believe that this needed to be a tough decision made by the leadership of the day, made by the government of the day. They were supposed to be the ones who put their foot down and say, Trinidad and Tobago, this is going to be a hard time. Last time we postponed Carnival was decades ago. But looking at what is happening on a global scale, we need more proof. And the idea of holding stable go is so true, because we're now looking to put measures in place that should have ideally happened weeks ago. And again, leadership is really about making tough decisions. And I'm not gonna accept these little candies thrown at the government, early tax refunds, things that they were supposed to do anyway. Because when all of this runs out, and when all of the flam and the stunts and people really start to face what is the true economic outlook, I think that is when people would really start to discern
Well,
versus leadership.
if you could add to that. Tony, I don't know if you had something to say though, but I wanted to add something to what she was saying, but you can go first.
No, Felicia is absolutely right in what she's saying. Lack of leadership is the major problem
I
that
get
we're
a
dealing with on the
notification of
shores
the
here in
live.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Is this
Is
live still
that?
running? Continue, Tony.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looked like it's still
again,
running. I
the
was getting a notification that it had ended, but it looked like it's still running.
is it?
It's still live on my end, yes.
All right, continue, Tony, because I wanted to ask Felicia something when you finish it.
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, following on what she was saying, the reality of the situation that is going to present itself to everybody is their personal financial situation. And I'm talking about the country's, the national outlook for Trinidad and Tobago. I'm talking about what is going on right now in everybody's personal life, in their kitchen. I want to tell you, your children, their education. Coronavirus is not the only thing that needs medical attention in this country. We've had casualty system overburdened and overwhelmed. Satish, leave us on the three screen, split screen right through. I don't need to be my own screen. Leave us on the three screen. But Felicia, Tony, our public health system without COVID-19, without coronavirus, was always under pressure. It was always underperforming. Our ambulance service underperforms. Our food production underperforms. Our water delivery underperforms. We're not good at anything. Nothing works. Nothing works in Trinidad and Tobago. And compound that now with the fact that all of these people and everything that goes to make up their lives turned upside down. This is not sustainable perpetually.
I have no idea what you just said in the last bit.
Correct,
You said it's
correct.
not
It's not
sustainable
sustainable.
perpetually. I lost.
Listen, I
I
have
lost
a
you.
personal experience.
We're having real difficulty with the we're having real
Yeah,
technical
the internet
difficulty.
is really, really horrible here right now.
But it looking like it's national. So maybe we stick a pin in this and come back at it tomorrow. Consider this the test, and we hit it during the day tomorrow. How y'all feel about that?
Yeah.
Satish, I mean, at the end of the day, but Tony, if you gain anything at all now and you want to continue, I mean, to the viewers who stuck it out with us, thanks a lot. And I wanted to say something tonight, and I don't want the night to pass, and I'll say it tomorrow, and I'll say it every single day. Felicia, are you hearing me now?
Yes, I am.
Tony, you hearing me now? I hope all of Trinidad and Tobago is
Yeah,
hearing this. Because regardless of how crappy all of our systems and government is, we still have people in Trinidad and Tobago, especially our people in public health, our nurses, our doctors, our aides, our orderlies that getting up every single day and going out there to work and putting themselves in danger for total strangers. This is not normal. This is above and beyond the call of duty. And Trinidad and Tobago has to give these people plenty respect. To the police officers, the firemen, the paramedics, everybody who are on the front line of this, all the first responders, I want to say to them on behalf of the Progressive Empowerment Party, thank you for being the best Trinidadian and Tobagonian that we all aspire to be.
Agreed.
well
Yeah.
said.
You know, I mean, we could fight with it. I don't know what, I'm not getting my own audio. I don't know what you're getting. So, so from the test perspective and to all the people watching, I apologize for the technical difficulties. This is above and beyond what is in our control. Um, but this show, Pep Stream, is going to be one of our principal shows. It is going to morph plain talk and pep talks, and all of the people that you know and that you look forward to hearing from are going to be, including Felicia and Tony. We have other people that we're going to be having on regular and guests. The show is going to be guest driven, and we're going to try to do this every day. Pep stream is you're going to see either all three of us, or one of us and guests, or two of us and guests. But at some point, somebody will be hosting Pep stream daily. That is the intention, and we go forward from there. Tony,
Yeah. Well, what are we gonna do? Are we staying on the live or what? Giving
for
it
as
the
long
run?
as you, because Satish is still testing, so as
You
long
guys
as
are
you
hearing
call,
me?
I am hearing you.
All right. Well, what I wanted to say was I haven't, for the first time in my life, directly experiencing the public healthcare system. Let me tell you, it is utter madness because my father recently got a stroke and having to take him to Port of Spain General Hospital. The man stayed there for almost 24 hours in the hallway of the emergency room. Um, really and truly not being helped, wasn't able to get a bed to be warded, to at least be under some level of observation. Um, Listen, the system has gone to hell, literally, and there's no justification for the money that we're spending in our budget towards the healthcare system because we are not
But
getting value for the money at all,
that's not
whatsoever. And
that's not incorrect.
really and truly, it's a major problem that the citizens have to deal with across board. I mean, not just here in Trinidad and Tobago, across board, they are saying that there weren't any beds available at any of the hospitals across the country in Trinidad and Tobago.
Tony, that's unacceptable. That's
It
unacceptable.
is unacceptable, and it is crazy to think that we know our we know the size of our population. We know we have 1.4
You guys
million
are hearing me?
people. Yeah, we're
Yeah, we
hearing
are.
you, Anthony. And we know all of this information here. We don't have enough hospital beds. Like, what is it going to take for them to decentralize healthcare where you don't have to be in a situation like Anthony had with his dad two Sundays ago, where he couldn't go to Mount Hope, which was so much closer, and had to be sent to Port of Spain. I can't believe that we haven't, like, again, common sense has not dictated the pace in terms of how we should be as a nation, how we should develop. I mean, it's unbelievable when you try to think
Because,
about it.
because excuses, people make excuses for the insanity that passes for all government service. So when Tony tells his story, instead of Trinidadians weeping for Tony, they will fight him to defend whichever cult is in office to say, to hell with you. I mean, we saw it with Christopher Phillip on the lawn of the pub on the Port of Spain General Hospital.
Yeah, that
That's the
was a
truth.
sad thing, a real, real sad thing. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. And just to think in a normal environment and a normal circumstance where our healthcare system cannot pacify the citizenry as it is, now having onset on top of that, a COVID-19 virus taking place, we're looking at a serious problem here. We are not capable of dealing with this crisis that is taking place on a global scale. Far less for little Trinidad and Tobago. We are
You
not
can't
prepared.
you can't use the word we. You have to say that those who are trying to manage it now are not doing a good job managing it. And I want to say that
Very true.
those who have lead on this, they are confounding the good intentions of all the good people who, if they were given the opportunity to work at it, would do a better job.
True.
If the National Operations Center had lead on this and was able to mobilize, and I'm just talking about the case of the 68 people on the ship, quarantine the ship, quarantine the ship for 14 days, test everybody on the ship at the end of the incubation period. What you have is called a closed environment, as opposed to what Sean Sunarine called putting them in the wild. When we took them off the ship and transported them to Balandra or Blanchishes or wherever they went on the Know Your Country tour, that was putting the virus in the wild. It was contained on a ship. Look at the 20,000 people that came here in the past 14 days. You cannot get on a plane to go to a country without that flight having permission to land. Because you could land, but that don't mean you could get off. We have police and we have army. And I am serious about this. All of the people who are outside of this country when this catastrophe blew up had to have known, head home, had to have known. To wait for the last minute when the crisis had spun away from the world was for you to be deliberately taking everybody else's safety for granted. We talk. This country, we are so confused. We talk about the people who want to lime in the bar and take a drink and cuss them. But we don't mind somebody who just spent his vacation in New York City, is absolutely infected or carrying this disease, and come home and go about his business, shopping in Price Mart, waiting to see if he has sniffle to go and get tested. I want to know if Ian Allen, whose videos are suggesting that he is tested positive, was he quarantined for 14 days when he landed here? And if you were using the National Operations Center, if you had operationalized the Organization for Disaster Preparedness and Management, we have a field hospital in Komoto. We have hotels with zero occupancy. Cascadia Hotel, Normandy Hotel, Marriott. Listen, the country is facing a crisis. Command there. That's the word, command there. Turn the rooms into quarantine facilities. The idea is for the incubation period, lock it down and isolate it so that all of the people who come back to Trinidad and Tobago, you stagger them to suit your facilities. You have to build refugee camps on the runway in the airport, but we could have said, okay, we have facilities for 2,500 people at a time, and that's 14 days. So wherever you are in the world, you are to get on a list, because I don't believe what they're doing right now, closing the borders now. You see what they're doing now is more of the overcorrection, overreaction nonsense. There are Trinbagonians outside of Trinidad that need to come home. And all you have to do is bring them home and quarantine them for 14 days. How is that so difficult? The 35 people in Barbados, bring them home, quarantine them, isolate them. Satish, I don't want the single thing. Leave us on the tree screen. You understand what I'm saying? Felicia, Tony, is it making sense to
No,
you?
Philip, I understand. And if you look at the financial cost of that too, the cost of quarantining, putting that number of people under quarantine is far less than shutting down an entire economy. We could have separated these people from the rest of Trinidad, and we could have looked at how many people they were in contact with and make sure that they themselves have been separated from the rest of Trinidad. It's exactly what you say. You're not hearing me?
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Oh, sorry, you say like we're correcting our mistakes, and at each step we're getting worse at it, because pretty soon, and I can't believe that people are calling for a state of emergency. It baffles me at
Because they
the
don't know what to call for. What the citizens supposed to be calling for is proper management of the situation. This is not rocket science. We've been dealing with plagues since Christ was walking on this earth. Christ was alive.
exactly.
Christ was alive in the time of leprosy. 1400 years later, the world had a bubonic plague that wiped out a quarter of the population of the planet. We've been down these roads before. So it is not like we don't have the technology. You know what we have today? We have the technology today. 60 years ago, I tell people, the world was at war and we operationalized all industry. The people who used to make green peas, pack it in a box and freeze it, that factory was making guns and bullets. We have the ability in Trinidad and Tobago to go to every factory that we need to make surgical masks, make gloves, make sanitizer. Sanitizer is aloe vera gel or any kind of substrate. You know, lube, sex lube, anything that could evaporate, that and alcohol. 2/3 cup alcohol, 1/3 cup substrate, aloe vera gel, raw aloe, lube. Take it off the shelves. Go in the sex stores and take all the sex lube. Add it to rubbing alcohol, hand sanitizer. Come on. We have no plan. So they get on the press conference and they ramble on for 3 hours. You listen to how long these press conferences take. You know why these press conferences take
I
so
can't
long?
listen to the full thing. I've done it.
But you know why it takes so long? They take so long because they have nothing to say. So Keith
Exactly.
Rowley comes and takes you on a tour. And he says, while I'm taking you on a tour, I have the Minister of Finance here. He'll take you on a little tour when I stop speaking. And then the Minister of Health, he'll take you on a tour. But all of them are talking things that have nothing to do with how things should be and how things should operate. Tony's screen is black, Satish. I don't know if you're seeing that. Um, I don't know what is the situation with the live at this precise moment. So I just want to check that. The internet is really playing the fool with us tonight. I see we still live. I hope we get Tony back into the situation. I hope we get Tony back into the live so we can continue. Um, let's be honest though. Let's be honest. Our mismanagement of this does not have to continue to dictate how we handle this. And Felicia, I think that we need to focus on what is leading this fight. I think the government is out of its depth. I read what the opposition proposed, and all of it missed the mark. All of it is not where our focus should be. So Trinidadians, and I want Trinidadians to hear where the government's focus should be. The government's focus should be focused now on two things: ending the transmission and dealing with our existing patients so that we get COVID-19 or COVID-19 experience behind us in quick time. And that has to be the goal. And then you ask yourself, what is required to do those things? I disagree with the government's handling. I am so upset as to how they handled those 20,000 people. And I know that if Trinidad loses control of this, if we become, if this breaks us, that there were moments when the government had opportunities to safeguard the country. There were moments when the government had the ability to safeguard the people. That first moment was January 15th. The second moment was February 1st. Up to February 15th, we could have made a decision. We're making drastic decisions now. We could have made those
Yeah.
drastic decisions. But we could have made those drastic decisions then. We could have actually been telling the people who were trying to come to Trinidad for Carnival, listen, it's in your best interest to stay home. This thing, spinning out of control. Go home. Stay home. Don't come to Trinidad for Carnival. We will postpone Carnival when we get past COVID-19. Let's deal with COVID-19. That was the first opportunity that we missed. The second opportunity that we missed was to not isolate Tobago. But I think that this 20,000 people, I mean, this is beyond reckless. And and somebody needs to be put in charge now that has an idea how to manage this. We're gonna end up going down a road where politics is going to fail it. And then they're going to put it in the hands of law enforcement. That's where it's going to go, you know. We're going to go state of emergency. We're going to go martial law. To all the people who are calling for a state of emergency, if you have all money put on and you have food in your house, you're thinking 3 months I could survive. I could survive with the food I have, and if my food run out, I could take my money and go and I could buy some. A real state of emergency is you can't go and buy none. So what you have is what you have to live with. And the government is aware of that. That the moment they declare a state of emergency, the government is responsible for the upkeep of the people. No, everybody that you tell stay inside. They can't come out and shop, they can't come out and work, they can't mind themselves. You've just made yourself as government responsible for 1.4 million people for how they eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That is not something that any government, especially this government, is set up for. We need to stop the overcorrection. We need to stop the panic. We need a sensible plan. The sensible plan starts with, now let me tell you, solving that 20,000 people problem requires you to enforce a quarantine on them. Ian Allen, if he is one of those 20,000, we have a problem coming. Think it through.
Big problem. Very, very big problem.
All of
We need
those
to vet
folks
the
ask.
population. The
Go
people
ahead.
have to know. We have to know. We have to know what is happening on the ground and how widespread this thing is. Because we're still allowing people to interact with each other in the public. I mean, I've gone to the supermarkets. Yes, they're trying to have certain measures as far as having the sanitizer solution to wash your hands and so on. But still, at the end of the day, you can't anticipate if someone is looking normal and just sneezes in front of you, and you now have to pass through that air zone that is basically, it's
Infecting
pellets
you.
of infected water pellets and air. It is just not a sensible situation as to how we are treating with this entire situation. It is not, and it's not until we have thousands upon thousands of people that is infected and the entire system is about to fall apart and crash. This is when people want to come together and everybody want to sing, hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Come, let we stand together and be one to try to fix this when it's too late. Why?
The
Why are we
average
still continuing?
politician, the average politician not set up for this. None of them are. So all of them want to kumbaya. David Abdullah and the MSJ, all the rest of these people, when they abdicate their critical thinking to the state, is because they don't have a fresh idea to offer. The Progressive Empowerment Party is very clear that there are steps that should be taken, that could be taken, that would put a
Correct.
handle on this without destroying the economy.
Very true. Very true. Very, very true. And I wish, if it's one time, I wish they could take a page out of the Progressive Empowerment Party book is now. Really and truly. I wish to God that they can look at the Progressive Empowerment Party's policy towards this and thief the page and run. Run with it. Because we are in dire straits right now and these people are acting as if they do not know the difference between their ass or their elbow. And that is as simple and as plain as it could be. Because none of it is making sense and the population is continuously, as the days go by, is becoming more and more at risk. When are we going to put the brakes on this level of madness going on? When? Why are we categorizing the lives of our citizens with a price tag? Because when you sit down and look at why it is Carnival could not have been cancelled or pushed back, you're talking about $300-400 million. Okay, did we even? I'm pretty sure we've spent more than that to try to host that event. It wouldn't have hurt us to hold it back for a few months. Let's see what the environment would have been. Be proactive in that sense. You bring in 20, 30,000 people on the island. Nobody vetted. Everybody whining and grinding. Who's sweating on who's spitting on who drinking from the same bottle and the same glass. Is alcohol, is bacchanal. Nobody care. But it's after we want to have long tears coming down we face and wondering what is the next move from what is not the next move. It makes no sense. None of it makes sense. And
They've
I
left
am very much at risk. I am in
they've
fear for
left
not
the
just myself, my family, the country on a whole.
they've left everybody feeling like that. People are either panicked or running to religion, hoping that God have a plan.
And that's it, the religious fanatics, and they're coming out in their
Yeah.
numbers now. And I am not beyond prayer. I am not beyond, turning to a higher power. But you can't just leave everything up to I want to say chance, because you have to take some kind of action as a nation. And Philip, I wanted to ask this question because we you mentioned it off air, but the more you talk about it, the more I think it is absolutely necessary. And I know you're a man of the people that that plan that you did for the Diego Martin Highway when you were even vying for office. At this point, Trinidad and Tobago needs a real plan. We need leadership. And should the PNM be able to put their tail between their legs and, put their pride aside, would you be willing to offer your advice and your plan of action for the country? Because I think we need it right now. We absolutely need some clear direction and
I want
leadership.
to tell
And
you, no, I agree with you, and I want to tell you, there are two other people that I would I would absolutely need to know that they are on board, and that's Gary Griffith and Gavin Hira. You see, Gavin Hira as commander of the National Operations Center, you need to bring people back on board. The best manager we've ever had of the ODPM was Stephen Ramroop. Bring Stephen Ramroop back. Sheldon Edgell, get these people operationalized. Give them the responsibility. We need a tactical approach now. We need to bring epidemiologists to the country. We need to marshal our medical expertise. We need to organize the human resource on the front line. If 1%, if 1% of the 20,000 people get infected, that's 200. 1%.
exactly. And that is what
Where
I
do
want to
you
see in those press conferences that we're seeing and we hear on for 3 hours. I want to see experts and doctors and people talking about Queen and if this gets it to be. I wanted to see that. We want to see that, and the people need to understand stunts can only go on for so long. And then they make memes about Stuart Young and his voice and Rowley, how he gruff. But put that aside, and I see people saying that jokes is the way that they deal with stressful times. But dealing with stressful time also means addressing the stressful time head on. And we could joke about it, but the reality is we are facing a situation where we are all but letting it run away from us. And we can't joke about an issue when it right in your communities now. Ian Allen, I mean, who was expecting that? Who else has he been in contact with? And of those 20,000 people who came back to Trinidad and Tobago, how many of them are in your community? How many of them shop in your grocery? How many of them were in the panic rush to get food when they came back? And these are the things that we have to think about. The time for joking and the time for that is good. I understand you have to ease it. We also have to be thinking. I always say we as the citizens, we also have to be thinking down the line. It's been a week and a half and businesses are already suffering and boiling because of this. People are anticipating this passing May. I can't predict it at that far down, but the statistics are showing in terms of our ability to manage it. Should we may well be this May past May? And at this point, like I said, we really need to take a very clear look ahead and see where we are right now and where we and if we know we want to be able to say that like China and Singapore and other countries that have gotten this virus under control, if we know we want to be there, we have to start looking towards the people who actually talking like they know how to get it. And the press conference, enough of it now. It's wasting time. Let's bring the real experts on. I want to see Keith Rowley say, Philip Edward Alexander, this is your time to shine. You've been talking a lot. Now come on board and help us. If you really want to talk and the lives with Zins and all of that, put your pride aside and bring in somebody who is actually talking like they know what they're about or what they're doing.
Well, that wouldn't happen. Why would that happen? Why would they give the Progressive Empowerment Party that mileage for?
Anthony, I don't even want to sing that now. I am at the point now where if we are talking nation and weathering this storm, because the more that this off we are going to be in terms of our lives, the economy, businesses, forget all of that aside. We have time to fight PNM as PEP and UNC after all of this. Keith Rowley said it's not about politics, it's not about elections. Okay, well then let's focus on the well-being of the people right now. There are some solutions that we have discussed here. As much as we have passed and missed opportunities, there are still solutions that we can implement. And if you have people watching these videos, take the ideas and share them. But what would be even better, in my opinion, is to come to the source, come and find out how the Progressive Empowerment Party would deal with, because there are some real and applicable solutions that we're just not looking at. And we can't say that it's just because of politics and here that they will do the pride or who don't like who. It's about the nation. And as the Prime
Yeah, but
Minister of the nation,
Felicia,
the well-being of the citizens should come first.
Felicia, we have offered this to the country. We have offered the solutions to the
Tony, we getting some
country.
feedback from on your end though. I don't know if you have an audio there that you could turn down. We getting feedback through your mic. Sorry about that. Sorry for this interrupting you.
Are you hearing me now? Better?
Not hearing you, but we were getting a feedback loop. So if you have audio loud where you are, if you could reduce that and just continue where you are.
Right. But the point is, they have had the offer from us. We have offered ourselves, offer our services, offered the ideas that we have in trying to help the nation on a national level. Have they considered it? No. So it's not a matter of us not wanting to be out of politics and think of country. It's everyone else not taking that initiative, because at the end of the day, no one still has taken that time to come and really sit, talk, and understand and really devise a real plan in how are we to move forward as a nation in this level of crisis that we are faced with. We are
Antonio, you're
doing
spot
our
on.
part.
You're spot on. Because any serious government would have convened a meeting of everybody by now. Let's
Correct.
talk. Let's talk. Nobody
Correct.
could say that they have the only ideas or the only suggestions. What Felicia said is let's pool all of the best minds and the best resources in the country. That's the way forward.
That's
Clearly,
right.
what we're doing now is not working.
Correct. Correct. And that has to change, and it has to change very, very quick. Very, very quickly, because we are talking about the risk of the nation and on a whole, everything across the board. It's a cascading effect. It's not going to get better if we continue down the road that we are right now. We must bring a level of change. We must have to come together. Forget the politics like we continuously preaching for the last weeks. We've been saying, forget about politics, forget about the politics. Let us come together. Let us speak in one voice. Let us come up with real solutions. But yet, you still finding lines being drawn in the in lines being drawn in the sand, and a level of division still taking place on the shores of Trinidad and Tobago. And why? Why? Why are we still doing this? Because again, everyone else wants to still practice politicking.
Tony, you spoke earlier about people providing facilities for people to wash their hands and sanitize and all of that. That is Trinidad's response, you know. That's not the government's response. The government has not provided those sinks, those taps. The government didn't provide the plumbing. The government didn't provide the soap or the water. Well, I mean, possibly the water. But the government didn't provide the facilities that everyday Trinbagonians have been doing on their own. Trinidadians are stepping up to this. Trinidadians will step up more. But without the right leadership to harness that passion and that patriotism and that love of country in a direction that will make their Trinbagonians, I am sure, right now, would like to volunteer to assist on the front line. Give us some basic training, give us personal protection equipment so that we could come in, because these public health personnel, these healthcare people, nurses, doctors, orderlies, aides, they're exhausted already, you know. And we ain't even start this dance yet. We need to organize Trinidad and Tobago a COVID-19 response. It is no longer enough for the government to come and press conference us to death. The people are not stupid. You are not hiding the information. You're not scaring us into silence. In fact, if you shut down social media, people will talk it over the wall, gate to gate, street to street. It never works. So don't even think to try it. What you're supposed to do is come to the people of Trinidad and Tobago and say, our best intention is to make sure that nobody dies. It is our best intention to end this now. So we've agreed to work with everybody. This is no longer something that you could spin.
True. Very true. Very true. But the question you have to be left to ask yourself at this point is, due to the way they are taking the steps that they are taking towards this whole virus situation, this crisis that we are faced with, knowing our economic stance that we're basically facing right now, and very in the near future, you're talking about they're going into the Heritage and Stabilization Fund to pull out money to do what? To do what exactly? What are they
That's
using
a
this
Hail
money
Mary.
to do? Right?
That's
Is
a
it going
Hail
to actually
Mary.
benefit the situation at hand that we are dealing with, where the COVID
Tony, they
19
should not be allowed
situation
to
is
touch
concerned?
that money. They should not be able to touch that money without a plan. And that plan
Correct.
cannot be, that plan couldn't, not supposed to be circle the drain. That plan has to be how we come out of this. You know?
Yes. Yes.
Leverage the resources of the state, leverage the resources of the people. We do not need to touch the Heritage and Stabilization Fund at this point. What we need to do is set a goal of zero transmissions. That's where we want to get to. How do we get to zero transmissions, right? As our first step, zero transmissions, zero deaths, full recovery. Set those as goals. The moment you get to zero transmission, zero deaths, and full recovery, the country is now safe. We've closed it off from the world. We will keep ourselves plugged into the information, what's going on the planet, but we need to get Trinidad and Tobago COVID-19 free. And the moment we are COVID-19 free, we have to turn Trinidad and Tobago back on and get our people back out to work and get our children back out to school. Yeah? Because if we get to zero transmissions, virus dead in Trinidad.
Correct.
Everybody incubates 14 days. So after that 14 days, we have zero transmissions. There can't be anybody hiding somewhere still carrying coronavirus. It's dead. It's
True.
worked its way out. You understand what I'm saying?
And
Dead.
I would tell you this too, eh? The government, not meaning to cut you off there, but I think
No, no,
that
no.
we are, even though we are faced with such a crisis, we are also placed in a position of change where we can change a lot in Trinidad and Tobago as to how we treat with just about everything across the board, how we conduct business, how we deal with healthcare, how we deal with education and security and everything on the whole, because having to have such a stumbling block, it gives us an opportunity to actually rebuild Trinidad in a place and in a way that making a whole lot more sense. Are we going to take that an opportunity as such? Well, of course not.
I want to show you the kind of stuff that we have, right? When Terence Dialsing uses a press conference to stunt and talk about which test is the best test, I know Terence Dialsing is reading from a script somebody handed him to read, because Terence Dialsing is not a medical professional. I am dealing with global medical professionals at the highest levels, right? The test called PCR, polymerase chain reaction test, invented in the 80s by Dr. Carrie Mullis. In 40 years, doctors have never come up with any test more accurate than this very flawed theoretical estimate of microbial activity. If I read this for you, you will wonder how we getting proper tests done. We are trying to get quantitative readings from a qualitative report. Hear what I'm saying? Eh? So there's a large margin for error. We need in Trinidad and Tobago to stop stunting, as you said, and bring real medical professionals to deal with this. We have citizens of this country at the highest level of global healthcare, and we should tap into that and
Very
set up
true.
proper task forces. Felicia was correct. You need a medical task force, but you are spot on, because while you are dealing with COVID-19, if you are not focused on managing the economy, we could come out of one crisis and run smack dab into the next.
Spot on there, brother.
But
Spot
that's the
on.
truth, right?
That's exactly what we're faced with at this point. And regardless of all that we do where COVID-19 is concerned, we still have another tsunami right behind that where our economy is concerned. And how are we getting out of that, digging an even deeper hole and still not having a level of diversification where now tourism and travel is going to be at a minimal worldwide, which we can't even look into that sector at this point in time to see that we're going to do any kind of development. I mean, really and truly, the only way we can do anything to safeguard the country at this juncture right now is to put lots of emphasis on food security, food independence, being able to feed the population on a whole, self-sufficient without having to source anything from the outside, or as minimal stuff as possible from outside of Trinidad and Tobago. We have to have a
But
level of food independence. That is key for us right now.
we did a show and had a call in from a food importer, and he registered a certain amount of discomfort where our ability to grow food is concerned. But I know that that is based on the existing experience of how the thing works. It had nothing to do with our potential, and we've never operationalized that.
True. Very true. Very true. We've destroyed that industry on a whole because at the end of the day, we know for a fact that we've had the best honey, best sugar, best cocoa. I mean, anything coming out of the ground in Trinidad and Tobago is usually the best of the best. Our avocados, you name it, across the board, man. But yet we have not put any type of emphasis whatsoever across how many decades? You have every leader coming in and out of the parliament, every leader talking about, yes, we're going to revive Carney, or we're going to develop the agriculture sector. And still in 2020, Trinidad and Tobago is still not able to feed its own population, and a small population at that of 1.4 million people. Come now, man. You keep saying it, you know, man. It is done so by design, and it is very true. The question is that what is the end game of going down the road that we are going down for the last 58 years? these people that we call leaders, people who are the same grandchildren of Africa and India, as every other citizen on the island. The point of the matter is these people are supposed to be looking out for the interests of the people and making us, after 11 administrations passing through the doors of that parliament, we are supposed to be 11 times better, but instead we are 11 times worse, and only having to blame one or the other and always deflecting every issue that we have and not coming up with real solutions in sorting out those issues that the population is dealing with. We have simple issues that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago, such as water. We talk about that all the time. We still don't have 24/7 water 365 days a year. A country having 6 months of rain, surrounded by water 365 days of the year. Why don't we have clean water in Trinidad and Tobago right through? And that is a minor issue, far less for the other issues that are even more critical to the citizenry. What is left where that is concerned? What is the position we are in? And it sickens me to know we are in the year 2020, the 21st century, and we are still having this discussion to date. It is failure. This is total failure. I don't even know what to say or feel or do anymore as a citizen of this country. I do not. Because at the end of the day, we are putting, where the Progressive Empowerment Party is concerned, first world policies that are second to none. And yet, you have a large portion of the population, whoever following who, whether it be yellow crapper, as you say, or red crapper. The point is you want to criticize, you don't want to take the time in trying to understand and know whether for fact if these policies are things that can actually work. Look, get the information for fact, know it work, give it to your party, let them put it in place. I personally, as a citizen of this country, want to see Trinidad and Tobago work. And the only way we can have that is if we are to stop the level of division, identify ourselves as Trinidad and Tobagonians versus Indo-Trini or Afro-Trini and all of this sort of foolishness that we keep running down, and really get serious about creating a proper agenda, not just for the people of the country, but for the nation as a whole, for the next 50, the next 100 years, what marks we are going to create as goals within that period of time, in seeing the successes that we can accomplish as a nation, giving hope and betterment to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and we are in the position to do so. We have been in that position for the last 57 years, but to date, have we had that? No, we have not had it. Why? Because we insist on having the fools that we have in that we call in leaders to say, look down on we like peasants and show away when it's our money and our back that have to pay licks for the last 57 years and having us where we are today. And we're still supposed to be okay with that. But this here now is something we cannot run away from, because we can't run from Trinidad to go Canada, America, or England. Because guess what? They are dealing with the same issue that we are dealing with this disease, which now creates us as a nation being quarantined for ourselves. We can't run anywhere. So who are we to turn to right now? Not ourselves, not the resources that we have, not the skill set and brain and I mean, come now, man. I'm fed up. I'm fed up seeing people calling themselves scholars, people calling themselves having doctorates and masters and bachelors, saying that they are leaders. And yet we cannot be led into the right direction for the betterment of the people. It is sickening. It is absolutely sickening. And I mean, really and truly, the Progressive Empowerment Party, I must say, and I will say it publicly, is the only party on the shores of Trinidad and Tobago that have simple policies straight to the point that can deal with the issues the nation is dealing with. Nobody else is able to present that in the public space. Auntie comes with UNC talk about she bringing 50,000 jobs here for Trinidad and Tobagonians. How are they doing that? They talk about it vague on the platform. We in the Progressive Empowerment Party know exactly how we can put 40 to 50,000 jobs just from one industry, the decriminalization of marijuana. Imagine that you have 3 different areas where you could go into recreational, medicinal, as well as industrial. That can put 1,000 people employed in each 41 constituencies. That giving you 41,000 people right there. Right there. You're talking about having to fill another 9,000 to make the 50,000 mark. It is not rocket science, but when they hear us talk this talk, We are mad people. We are talking pie in the sky. But that is only because that is the propaganda they want to put to feed the nation, the nationals, the citizens of the country. So they simply don't know. They don't know. The country do not know is why they continuously try to block the Progressive Empowerment Party, and is why they would not, and I would say it again, they would not want to talk about nation and forget about politics only because they are in fear. The Progressive Empowerment Party does get the chance to show them, to show the country, to show the citizens how these policies can work. The people will get betterment, and they are in fear of that. Both UNC and PNM, people can say what the hell they want to say. They will not entertain the Progressive Empowerment Party for that fear, because they know it will be the end of them and the reign that they've had for the last 58 years. They know it. You know it, Philip. You know it, Felicia. Trinidad people
No, no, no,
who
no,
know it in
no.
the
Tony,
country
well
knows it.
said. Well said. And I feel like you had to get that off your chest tonight. I feel like you needed to say what you said tonight, and I think you were spot on. I think
Well,
you were.
I had to, Philip, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, experienced firsthand for the first time in my life having to deal with the public healthcare system and having to watch my father have to go through this system where he did not get the level of betterment that he was supposed to get, the level of care he was supposed to get after spending how much billions of dollars each bloody year and talking about all kind of budgets with ridiculous money, and show me where the people are gaining a benefit. I see it for myself and I'm sickened by it. I am sickened by it. It is sad to see our doctors, our nurses do not have the tools that they need to get the job done. And the people who are there to ensure the tools are there are only continuously creating and finding all the excuses under the sun to say why the system cannot work the way that it works. And if they are not saying that and talking about the system is one of the best healthcare systems in the region, more lies, more propaganda, more foolishness to feed the people to make them feel like they're doing something with this money, when in reality they ain't doing one ass. Excuse the French.
Felicia, let's bring it
No,
to a
I
wrap.
just
Yes, 12,
now
and
looking at your post. I'm looking at that post, Philip, and I mean, the most I could hope for is that the government really follows the path that they try to lay out for us in the past week and a half, which is that they're all about country and citizens first. And I hope that they accept the help, understand that they maybe, they weren't prepared for this, and whether they were or they were not, I think it is going to just all that can change that has to be a future conversation. But one thing I do hope that can come out of this crisis situation is that we really take that food independence seriously. I mean, we don't know what we're going to face in the next couple of weeks, but the idea, I think, that we can't and we're not set up yet to feed ourselves is one of the most concerning ones, because economies can bounce back, and businesses can find a way again, and people can rebuild their savings. But food, you can't run out of food, and that is the one thing that you need: food and water, the basic needs to keep people alive. You can't rebuild anything if you don't have people. But before we even talk so far into the future and the serious conversations that we need to have outside and after this COVID-19 pandemic, before we even get there, you, Philip, us as a Progressive Empowerment Party, and even independent of it, if taking, but often the help and the guidance to the government, I think, is a big showing of country first. And I hope that they can meet you and meet us halfway and really show that they are about country first as well.
I think we'll see now because we put ourselves forward. And yeah, look, at the end of the day, we can't fight the people for the people's response. The people are panicking, the people are afraid, the people want leadership, and if we say now is not the time for politics, let's put politics aside. Let's work together. All of us, let's work together. Bipartisan, remove all politics from the conversation. Everybody bring to the table what they could. Tony said the Progressive Empowerment Party has some powerful policies, and the government now and any future government after COVID-19 is going to be in sharp relief to show what they really do have as plans for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and hopefully we get to a place where we stop taking our responsibility as citizens in this democracy for granted. We have to see where that took us, that abdication of responsibility. To all the people who your first knee-jerk reaction is to run to God, they have an Arabic saying, pray to Allah, but tie your camel. Don't put everything in God's hands. You have the strength, the mind, the ability, the responsibility. Humans were given stewardship of the earth. We weren't given stand on earth and pray to God. We were given stewardship of the earth, and we have a role and a responsibility in everything that's going on. And we need to know that abdicating our responsibility is what has led us to here. The 58 years Tony is talking about, that 58 years, it's 58 years of people not taking politics seriously, not taking government seriously, not taking country seriously, not taking themselves seriously. And get past that. Hopefully we do that now. This has been a test of our new system, PEP Stream. Whatever Satish decides to do with this video, whether we save this video or archive this video, whatever, that's up to PEP Media. This has been a PEP Media production, and I want to say kudos to Satish Ramsaran, who's been working around the clock to get this up and running. I want to say thank you to Anthony Defoe and Felicia Holder, who've been here, to Lyndon Mack, who was our guest, and to all the people who are still here watching the video tonight, all those who shared it, all those who are interacting with us on WhatsApp and otherwise. PEP Stream is going to be an important tool in the dissemination of proper information, and so stay tuned for how we use this platform. We're going to be bringing a lot of guests into the conversation to help guide where we are and where we go from here. Felicia, Tony, any of you have anything you want to say in closing? Yeah.
No, I think I pretty much summed up what I felt in that last statement that I made. Thank you very much for having me on. I think as a first test of this PEP live stream, I think it went really well. I'm looking forward to being involved in more like these, because we have to find new ways of operating. We're all from three different spaces right now, but we still have to keep the show going. We still have to keep the people informed, and we still have to provide some level of hope, as well as clear-headed and stable thinking. I think the people looking forward to those with an idea of what they're doing, and particularly with what we're getting right now in terms of the government. And call this my last bashing of them, because I mean we have made our offer, we have put ourselves out there, and hopefully, like I said earlier, this can be a nation first approach in accepting that help. And Trinidad and Tobago, thank you very much for staying with us. It's after 12, almost close to 1 o'clock. You've stayed with us for a while, and thank you for staying informed with the Progressive Empowerment Party.
Well said.
Anthony?
Well said. Well, Trinidad and Tobago, again, I would say thank you so much for having us. And I just want to bring a little point of example just to show, even in the situation that we are dealt with here in Trinidad and Tobago with the COVID-19 and us having to be isolated for ourselves. The Progressive Empowerment Party have always ensured to find solutions to the issues that we are faced with, such as this one, us not being able to have the show in studio, and utilizing the technology that we have in order to bring the message out still and to have interaction among the members and our guests. It just shows again that we are not just about the talk, it's about the walk. And it's not just about talking about having solutions, it's about actually presenting and bringing these solutions that work. And this is one prime example of this. So again, my hats off to PEP Media, and thank you for everyone having to tune in. And again, Trinidad and Tobago, save TNT, vote PEP.
Well said. And as we bring it to a close, so I put it in Satish's hands, and this is the first time that we're bringing a pep stream to a close. So I won't know when it's over, but and it's all on the technical side now. It was an enjoyable experience. From here, the work begins. As Felicia said, we have a responsibility. The Progressive Empowerment Party took on a responsibility to inform, educate, and empower. And this video tonight, these two videos, this is actually a part two, this work to keep that coming in the face of any obstacle is so laudable. I am so proud to be a part of this party. I am so proud to be a part of this team. I am so proud to be, we put out that information that we're offering to assist, and globally I'm getting people messaging me, we on standby. If they take it, we're working with you. I'm talking about medical professionals, epidemiologists, law enforcement professionals from all over the world, people who are trained in this kind of thing. So in quick time, we could make a real serious impact. And the Progressive Empowerment Party has a vested interest in massive success, because we want to demonstrate how critical thinking and country first will always be the best way forward to rescue our country. Yeah? So until tomorrow, stay safe,
Bye.
Trinidad.